So I turned 40, and at least according to my wife, I was manifesting midlife crisis symptoms. I already had a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, like the Dos Equis guy, and a sports car. So neither of those were going to resolve this problem. And one day I came home from the office. I was a lawyer in that phase of my life. And hard day at work, and raising 2 kids, running the law office. And I get home, and my wife slaps down in front of me a brochure about trekking the Himalayas in Nepal. And so the therapy that she had prescribed was to go take a hike on the other side of the world. And it turned out that her therapy worked. So anyway, over in Nepal, taking the Mount Everest Base Camp Trail, and I'm from Indiana. You don't spend a lot of time in mountains in Indiana, as you probably know. It was the most spectacular experience I've had traveling. I've been to over 40 different countries, 48 states, but I've never experienced anything as majestic as the Himalayan peaks. The other thing, though, which really surprised me, was I was wonderfully amazed and impressed by the people that live up in the Himalayan mountains. Many of you have probably heard of the Sherpa people. That's just one of the tribal ethnic groups that lives up in the Himalayas. There are several others. These were the strongest, but also the kindest people I had ever come to know. We were hiking out, and we were hiking through an avalanche zone. And up above us on a higher, more dangerous trail, I saw 3 Nepalese guys. And these guys were porters from another mountaineering expedition. And the porters carry all the heavy gear, so the tents, cooking equipment. These guys were carrying the heavy gear of their climbing expedition clients to get back to the airstrip. It was a few days hike to get their equipment there before they did. And we all of a sudden we heard the sound that tells you an avalanche is starting. It's a low rumble. And so we started running towards safety. And I looked up and I saw the 3 men enveloped in the avalanche. Those 3 men, 3 strong, brave Nepalese guys, were killed in that avalanche. Our mountaineering group, half of our group was trapped for a day, but everybody got out and we made it to the airstrip safely. Came back home, and I had to reevaluate exactly how important was this wonderful adventure that I had to put at risk the lives of these other people. Because the mountaineering expeditions, like I said, the porters were the lowest paid people on the staff, are the ones who have to take the greatest risk carrying these heavy loads. And they're doing it, they're risking their lives so that people like me could have an exciting adventure. Well, I decided it wasn't worth it. That really was a mistake. So I vowed I would not go back to Nepal. I was done with mountain climbing. And like many resolutions that perhaps some of you have made, that was good to go. I wanted to go back to Nepal. But this time I thought what Hillary had done was so profoundly moving that, okay, I'm not rich or famous, but maybe in just a small way I can emulate what he had done. So I started each year organizing a trekking group of friends who went local guiding companies as opposed to using a company from the US or Europe, so that all the money, the wages, profits would go to the Nepalese people. And we would pair a fundraising project with the trek. So each year, our group would raise money to give it to a village school, or an orphanage, water project, something like that. So I did this for a few years, and I got to know the owner of this one trekking company that I started using regularly. The company is called GeoTreks. The owner's name is Miru, and Miru told me about his village called Basa. And I got to know Basa village because the men, the staff, our trekking groups were all from Basa. Our porters, our cooks, our guides, all came from this little village. And Miru told me that there was a little school in Basa. And he had helped establish the school because when he was a boy, he wanted to go to school, and he had to walk 2 hours to get to the nearest school. So he walked 2 hours, got to school, spent a day in school, walked 2 hours home, got home, had homework to do, and he thought to himself, I think if I'm going to walk that far, I want to get paid. So he left home, never went back to school, and he got hired as a porter on a trekking expedition company. Over the years, he worked his way up from porter to kitchen boy to cook to guide, head guide, to eventually owning his own company. And Adventure GeoTreks did pretty well over time. And one of the main reasons is because the men that he hired were from this village, and they were all family. There's only 62 homes, 62 families in the village. Well, so anyway, he had helped establish a little school in the village. A French NGO partnered with him, and he donated the land, and the NGO donated the funds, and the villagers built their own school. It had 3 grades. So Nero asked me, would I be willing to do a fundraiser because I wanted to add a 4th and a 5th grade. And for $5,000, they could buy all the materials to add 2 classrooms, could pay the teacher's salaries $40 a month. Hear that, teachers? If they paid the teacher's salaries for 3 years, then the government would take over paying the salaries. $5,000, 2 classrooms, 2 teachers, 3 years. I said absolutely, no problem. And I ended up with the help of raising $6,500. And so with that $6,500, 4th and 5th grade, they also were able to level out an area behind the school for the playground, because had no place to play. The children in the school were beautiful kids. And they were so eager to learn that this is what they had to work with. I thought the next step should be that I would contact other NGOs and agencies, aid organizations doing work in Nepal for assistance. And they'd be turned on by our ideas and want to help. What I discovered was that the other agencies wanted me to raise the money, and then they would take up to 25% of it to pay their administrative costs, salaries for their staff, office rent, and so forth. I knew that my friends who were donors who wanted to help Basa Village were not particularly interested in paying for office rental and salaries for offices in the United States. They wanted their money to go to Basa. So Nero and I caucused again, and we decided what we would do
2 sister foundations, one in Nepal, one in the U.S. And believe it or not, I found a lawyer friend who volunteered his time. Yes, there are lawyers who will give time. And so we created these 2 corporation foundations, and we started working with possibility. This is a school and the kids. That's a newer part of the school. But anyway, so we began working on projects, and we did a hydroelectric project because the villagers live on this huge valley. They live on a mountain that goes up to about 11,000 feet, and there's a ridge where they live, which is about 7,500 feet. And then down 1,000 feet is a river. And across that river is another big mountain. And they could see at night more and more lights twinkling from other villages. So they thought, well, we want those lights in our village. And so that was the first major project we did after school. And they got electricity. The teachers were very excited about that, because in Vasa Village, when the sun went down, you couldn't do homework. Now kids can do homework, but they may not like that. What is the downside of development? There is a very interesting outfit called BuzzFeed. Maybe you've heard of it. They publish each year what they call the 10 most incredible charities started by kids. And the kids range in age from 14 to 16. And these kids have done things like work on issues in African village illiteracy, sports programs for villages, homelessness in U.S. inner cities. These kids, 14 to 16, on their own, come up with these projects. Each one of you could do that. There's a very simple way to become directly personally involved called micro-lending. For a small amount of money, one person can make a loan which will change the lives of a family or a small business on the other side of the world. And you would get to know that family or that small business. Now, charity is, in a way, it doesn't sound like much fun. I mean, it's like giving my money or giving my time. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can, as I've said, partner. But partner in a way that's fun. I love trekking in Nepal. So what I do, I call philanthropy. Philanthropy, love of humanity, combined with trekking. And if you find something that you love, that you can combine with following the advice of love your neighbor. Love your neighbor, do it in a way that you love and it's fun, and you'll probably find that it benefits you as much as it benefits that neighbor. Thank you very much for listening.